All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the KC Sports Report. Michael Darcy, your host here as always. And today I'm going to try to break down the Chiefs and Giants game from Monday Night Football. The Kansas City Chiefs defeated the New York Giants on Monday Night Football by a final score of 20-17. With this win, the Chiefs moved to 4-4 on the season, and the Giants moved to 2-6. I don't know how I am going to talk about this game because, quite honestly, I think that this Chiefs team is just a bad team. And there really is no sugarcoating, and there's no other way around it. The Kansas City Chiefs are not a good football team. They let a New York Giants team, a 2-5 New York Giants team, by that matter, go to the very end at Arrowhead Stadium. There is no excuse for that. Daniel Jones is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. The Giants are one of the worst teams in the NFL, and you won by a field goal. It took all 60 minutes to beat a bad New York Giants team. I don't know how anybody can come out of this game feeling anything positive. I mean, actually, there's one positive from this game, which we will get to later in the video, but guys, this Chiefs team is cooked. They're not a good football team. Like, you cannot tell me that after this game, in which the offense struggled to put up points against this Giants defense, that this team is good enough to let alone make the playoffs, but do anything if they got there. I mean, this Chiefs team, unfortunately, it needs to get blown out. This Chiefs team needs major adjustments. And I tweeted this out, which go follow the show on Twitter if you haven't already. That's at KC Sports Report. I tweeted this out. I believed that, coming down, the Chiefs were 17-14 trailing to the Giants at home. I kind of felt like, hey, maybe losing to the Giants wouldn't be such a bad thing. I mean, maybe you'd fire some guys. Maybe Spags would not be allowed to return into the coaching room. I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen. But winning this game in the fashion in which you did doesn't really give me any encouragement moving forward. You play the Green Bay Packers next week. You think the Packers are going to play like that? The Green Bay Packers might beat us by 4 touchdowns. It is going to be ugly. And I think that a lot of this is on the shoulders of Steve Spagnuolo and Andy Reid. Andy Reid has not been the same coach since Britt Reid got in that car accident. Maybe that's the elephant in the room, but it had to be said. Ever since that incident, he has not been a good head coach. And that has been the theme throughout this season. The Chiefs are being outcoached, they're being outplayed, and it's in every facet. There's so much to talk about in this game. And as bad as I think that Steve Spagnuolo is as a defensive coordinator, for, again, letting Daniel Sorensen play deep safety and putting Ben Neiman on the football field, the defense wasn't the problem tonight. The defense gave up 17 points to a Giants offense that, isn't great, but 17 points should be enough to win a game. Like, giving up 17 points, that's manageable. And with the Chiefs offense, you should be able to easily win games. But this offense isn't good anymore, guys. And I think that a lot of it has to do with the offensive line not giving Mahomes any time to throw. I mean, Orlando Brown Jr. has just been bad, guys. Orlando Brown Jr., in my mind, should not be re-signed. And, throughout the offensive line, there's guys that just cannot give him any protection. But also, guys aren't getting open downfield. Tyreek Hill had an all right game tonight. He had a lot of the production on offense. Which I think that's just because they were giving him short dump-off passes because, the Giants' defense played a deep safety look and nothing was open downfield. And, to Mahomes' credit, and I was going to tweet this out, I think I probably did. On the first drive of the game, the Chiefs had the ball starting off. They took the small stuff. The offense actually looked good. But yet again, the theme of this Chiefs offense this season is turning the ball over. Ball security has been the biggest problem for this Chiefs team all season, and they have not figured it out yet. They turned the ball over, I think, twice tonight. I mean, I'll actually check that right now, but Mahomes threw a pick on that first drive that, some people say it should have been caught by McKinnon, and I tend to agree with those people, but, he was aiming for Byron Pringle, and he completely missed. Like, how many times are they going to turn the ball over and we're just going to say that it's not a fluke? It's not a fluke, guys. It is a theme. This is who they are. They just turn the ball over and nothing has changed. Every single week, they turn the ball over. They turned it over twice tonight. Kelsey fumbled it later in the game, and Kelsey looked terrible tonight. I mean, just all night, he was not in the right spot. When he did get targeted, the throw was behind him. Travis Kelce looked very, very frustrated. And that's just, it's so frustrating to see because this Chiefs team has all the talent to be a good team, and they're not doing it. And part of that's because they turned the ball over. Part of it is because Patrick Mahomes was not taking the small stuff. He kept looking downfield. And when your receivers are getting covered like a blanket, you're just going to have to check it down. And, he did a better job of that tonight, but there were still a lot of times in which I personally would have had him check it down, or I personally would have ran the ball. You know who was really, really good tonight that nobody's really going to talk about? That guy is Derek Gore. Derek Gore looked phenomenal tonight. And he actually had a rushing touchdown, his first rushing touchdown in the NFL. And on that same drive, he looked damn near unstoppable. But per Andy Reid usual, he didn't play him. He literally, after that drive, took him out of the game and went with Darrell Williams. I do not understand it. And that lies at the feet of Andy Reid. Derek Gore had 11 attempts for 48 yards. Meanwhile, Darrell Williams, who played a lot more, had 13 attempts for 49 yards. So Derek Gore was the better running back tonight. And I personally think that Derek Gore should be playing the majority of the snaps going forward, because I think that a lot of the offensive woes could be boiled down to Mahomes not having a running game. When you have to pass on every single down, it's very, very predictable. It's easy for a defense to cover an offense when you know they're going to throw. But having a running game in which they can kind of mix it up a little bit, it gets them off balance, and they were able to do that. Derek Gore almost reminded me of like a Le'Veon Bell kind of guy, because he was pausing, he was being patient, he was waiting for the offensive line to give him a block, and he was going. And I think that, Derek Gore looked a lot better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire ever has. He was hitting the gaps, he showed burst, he showed quickness, he showed an ability to keep going after the initial hit. All good things from Derek Gore. Derek Gore is my one positive from this game. And guys, let me know in the comments, am I being too harsh? I just cannot help but feel like this is one of the most uninspiring wins that I've ever seen. I can't see anybody coming out of this game feeling any better about this Chiefs team than they were coming into it. Again, this is a bad Giants team without Saquon Barkley, without Kenny Golladay, and you still only won by a field goal. I don't understand how anybody could be optimistic moving forward. I think that there were some bright spots. The defense giving up 17 points, great. Nick Bolton is a superstar. Willie Gay had an interception. Willie Gay and Nick Bolton are superstars. I think they're going to be really, really good. But outside of those guys, it got negated. I said this on Twitter. I didn't know how I was going to talk about this post-game because the Chiefs had some really good moments, but those got negated by really, really bad moments. And those bad moments came from Dan Sorensen giving up a 50-yard reception in which he got called for pass interference on the same play. Ben Neiman blowing coverages all across the field. It's just like Spagnuolo has not realized that those guys simply are not the answer. On third down, Nick Bolton and Willie Gay are coming out of the game. I do not understand how you could be so incompetent as a defensive coordinator as to run the same guys out there every single time and expect a different result. That is the definition of insanity. Throwing the same guys out, I guess not throwing the same guys out there, but doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Steve Spagnuolo looks pretty insane. A couple times tonight, the defense came up clutch, like in the fourth quarter. On the final drive, actually, when there was under a minute to go, Chris Jones was able to get a sack, and then Frank Clark actually sealed the deal with a sack against Daniel Jones. And Frank Clark, actually, to his credit, wasn't really a problem tonight. He actually had some bright spots, but guys, I think that the offense is the bigger concern because Travis Kelce didn't look anything like the normal Travis Kelce we're accustomed to seeing. Patrick Mahomes just looked like he was trying to force stuff. Again, still throwing interceptions, whether it's on his receivers or not. He had a couple tonight that got away from him, and I really don't really understand why that's the case. Maybe he's trying to overthink it. Maybe he's trying to score 35 points on every single possession, but I don't know what to say, guys. It's so odd that this Chiefs defense is one of the worst in the league, and on the night in which they decide to show up, the offense puts up 20 points. And for everybody out there saying that, oh, these Chiefs fans are so spoiled that 20 points isn't good enough from this offense. Guys, 20 points in the modern NFL is not really a lot. I mean, you see like teams like the Giants and some of the really, really bad teams putting up that amount of points because that's just how the NFL is focused. It's a points-driven league. It's an offense-driven league. I expect both teams to put up a significant amount of points. And the Chiefs did not do that tonight. You know, they were luckily able to escape this game with the win. But in my opinion, this win isn't just a win. And I've been saying this since week 2. I've been saying this from the very beginning. This Chiefs team, whether they win or lose, are not showing any signs of improvement. They're still turning the ball over. The offensive line still looks bad. Patrick Mahomes is still throwing interceptions. The defense showed, I guess, a little bit of improvement tonight, but they still trotted out Dan Sorensen and Ben Neiman. It's just like, where have they improved? I'm not seeing it. And again, I think that there's simple adjustments that need to be made, but they're not doing it. It's like Andy Reid has not done enough to limit some of these problems. And I think that really falls at the feet of him. And you know, the penalties tonight, the penalties were atrocious. The Chiefs had 12 penalties. And that's not good enough. That's just an undisciplined football team. But getting back to the turnovers, the Chiefs now have 19 turnovers through the first 7 games of the season. For the first 8 games of the season, actually. And they actually have 16 turnovers, maybe 17 turnovers in their last 7 games. This is a problem, guys. This is more turnovers than Andy Reid has ever had in any season of being a coach, and we're through 8 games. We've seen 8 games, and we still got 9 more games. There is a very good possibility this Chiefs team turns the ball over 40 times. I mean, how can you expect to overcome everything? The defense is bad, but when you're giving opposing offenses the ball back nearly 25% of the time, how can you expect to win? That is not a recipe for success. You know, I had the privilege of running the boards at ESPN Wichita, in which these high school football kids get criticized because they turn the ball over once, and they understand that, hey, you can't do that and expect to win games. It seems like the Chiefs don't understand that. The Chiefs have got to hold on to the football, and that all starts with Patrick Mahomes, and it starts with Andy Reid starting to take accountability from these guys. Nobody on this team has a sense of accountability. And I think that, again, Andy Reid is not punishing guys for when they mess up. And again, I think that is a really, really big problem moving forward. And that's why I'm so frustrated. You know, it just seems like, yeah, they won this game. Congrats. Woo, they won. But nothing has changed from every single loss. Nothing has changed. We haven't seen any adjustments. We haven't seen any major changes. We haven't seen an improvement. And that's why I'm on here as frustrated as if we lost this game. I understand a win's a win, and you won this game. You move back to 4-4. It's a lot better than 4-5 or 3-5, but nothing about this game should give you any confidence moving forward. So, Chiefs Kingdom, where do you guys lie on this game? What are your thoughts? Because, you know, I don't like being negative. I really don't. I wanted to be so positive coming into this season, but it just seems like the best option now is to blow this team up because they're not good enough. If you barely beat a bad Giants team at home on Monday Night Football, you need to blow something up. Something is desperately wrong that we're not getting answers to. And I haven't seen any of the press conferences yet. I haven't heard any of the questions, but the media's got to crack down on the problem. They've got to ask the right questions and ask Andy Reid to be accountable for what this team is doing. Because quite honestly, they're not good enough. So the Kansas City Chiefs beat the New York Giants on Monday Night Football by a final score of 20-17. But does this win really feel as good as it should? Thank you for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, hit that like button, comment, and subscribe for more of the best Chiefs content on YouTube. You can also follow us on Instagram for more of the latest updates on future videos, as well as instant Chiefs news right after it happens. You can also support the channel via the Patreon, as well as buying merchandise from the KC Sports Report store on Teespring. The links to all of those websites will be in the description. You just listened to the KC Sports Report, presented by Michael Darcy.